The Trump administration is recalling nearly 30 ambassadors and other senior career diplomats to ensure embassies reflect its, quote, America First priorities. John Herbst is a former US ambassador to Ukraine and senior director of the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Centre. He joins us now from Virginia. Good morning to you, John. Thank you so much for your time today. What is President Donald Trump trying to achieve here in recalling these ambassadors and senior diplomats?
Well, thanks for having me on, Joanne. Look, it's the president's prerogative to replace any ambassador, whether that ambassador is a political appointee or a career foreign service officer, as I was. But it is unusual for him to recall as large a number of this, especially nearly a year into his term as president. But this is, while unusual, it's not necessarily surprising because he has not fully staffed up all the key positions in the State Department, and not just the State Department when you talk about the national security agencies. And what he's done is he has left important bureaus, for example, the Near East Bureau or the European Bureau, in charge of a relatively junior career official. Well, actually, in one of the cases, a relatively junior career official, not a senior official, because his team has decided that that relatively junior official is quote unquote loyal to the America First agenda, even though the history of the Foreign Service is to follow the instructions, to follow the policy of whoever the sitting president is. And I think we've seen that pretty much throughout the history of the career Foreign Service.
Yes, he's saying that he wants to ensure that these officials pursue America First priorities. That is normally the case, that people in those positions would be doing that sort of thing?
I mean, overwhelmingly. I served 31 years in the service. I was instilled, as were all of my colleagues in the very first days in the training courses as a new diplomat, that, the President of the United States is elected by the American people. It's your job to use your greatest efforts to achieve the objectives of the President of the United States. And that's pretty much what I saw in my 31 years at the State Department and since. But it is true that I think that many of my colleagues were more liberal than the average American. And so there's a certain amount of distrust, especially among Trump supporters and maybe Trump himself, regarding the career Foreign Service, although I don't think in any way would they not fulfill his policy goals.
The State Department has declined to provide a list of which diplomats are being recalled. Do you have an idea of what countries we're talking about here?
I've been following this in the papers pretty closely, and I've been talking to some of my friends who remain in the service. I think the region most affected by this is Africa, but also the Middle East, the Far East, Europe, and even the Western Hemisphere, Latin America.
How might this move impact the US presence and credibility abroad?
Well, it's seen as one more unusual aspect of the Trump administration. But it's also true that most world leaders want to have a good relationship with President Trump and with the United States. And they will seek to do that no matter whatever reservations they might have about steps like these.